Okay, this video is about Wondrium. It's a internet website, and I consider it an academic hero number 23, but it's also a academic villain, and I'll explain why it's both. Wondrium.com is the website, and it used to be called The Great Courses. They've got video courses and DVD courses, sometimes audio CD courses, downloadable courses, and it's like a college primarily. There's also continuing adult after education, but it's primarily like a college. Monthly fee is really cheap, and it should be cheap. Most of their courses kind of stink. Most of their professors kind of stink. So I know what you're thinking. Well, why do I still call them an academic hero? Because there's also some good things about this company. And the benefit of a course in general is that they'll tend to be 6 to 18 hours of lecture on a subject, versus on the internet, quite often it's hard to find 6 to 18 hours concentrated on one subject. They don't tend to go in as much depth. On the other hand, on this Wondrium thing, most of their audiences, it's sort of geared towards a college student. 18-year-old don't know anything, so there's a lot of basic intro lingo. It's pretty often I'll find myself go to a course and pretty much have to skip the first two lectures. They're almost painful. The fastest you could watch stuff is at 2, and I'd be wanting to watch these things at about triple speed. They're so baby talkish. But another experience I've had that's unusual about college professors is that the junior college professors tend to be better than the university professors. And there's an obvious reason. The junior college professor wants the job. They want to teach. They're there to teach. The better job they do, the more students they get, the more money they make. Versus a university professor, they kind of consider teaching beneath them. They want to turf it off to their graduate students as possible. The graduate students often don't even speak English. So, you'll often see that experience. The kids going to the big fancy universities complaining how terrible the professors are, and then some kid going to some little school talking about how great their teachers are, or some junior college. All right, my junior college professors in general were better than my university professors. Okay. And I went to Stanford. Okay, so the next thing is, I actually thought about retiring and teaching at a medical school or a college, and also being a wrestling coach. I wish that I had sort of kept wrestling. My brother kept wrestling, and he had a lot of fun and success with that. One medical student told me, he laughed when I told him I wouldn't mind being a professor. He said, within 6 months, you'd be the most popular professor on campus. And then he said, by the end of the year, you would say something controversial. Some kid would complain about it, and you would get fired at any university. Great. He's probably right. Okay, for every 5 professors at Wondrium, here's about what you'll find. 2 out of the 5 will absolutely stink. They'll be teaching English literature, but they hate English literature, and all they do is complain and talk about negatives. I've seen art teachers from Wondrium who they'll show you some nice Renaissance painting, and then right next to it, they'll show you something made by these modern artists, Kandinsky or some other crapologist, Picasso, and they'll act like they're equivalent. No, they stink. Okay, modern art's like a litmus test. Anybody that thinks modern art is good, they're BSing you. They look like they're made by 3rd graders. It's like an insult to my intelligence. The next professor out of the 5 will be just mediocre. Perhaps tolerable if you really want to learn about that subject and there's no other alternative, but pretty disappointing. So what I'm basically saying is about 3 out of their 5 professors are either really bad or bad. But why am I recommending them? Because they've got tons of courses, and 1 out of the 4 of the 5 professors will be reasonably good, and then 1 of them will be great. And so those great professors, you'll see a course that's just fantastic, and you get, a good 12 hours lecture typically on the subject. It's great. Look at Rufus Fears. Rufus Fears is probably the best professor of any subject I've ever seen from that company. Anything he talks about is good. It doesn't even matter what he talks about. It'll be good. And then if you've got a kid who's in college or something, you can teach them how to use this strategically. For example, if they're studying biology, tell them to watch the biology lecture. Sometimes they'll be able to find biology videos on the internet. There's a lot of decent ones. Or they can watch the Wondrium video, and then they go to class the next day, and they're ready for the class. So that's valuable. In fact, most of the information about science or biology on the internet is all this college, first year grad school level stuff. And that's all based on memorization of old stuff, much of it untrue, all of it simplified. Usually it's preparing them for trade school. It's not sort of an open-minded, thoughtful discussion of what's this topic really about, Like, for example, if you're going to talk about membrane ion pumps, well, what's the relationship of dietary sodium and dietary potassium and dietary magnesium to the function of your endothelial cells, to the function of your brain cells? That's useful knowledge. Whereas the way a college student or a first and second year medical student is taught is you must remember the 3 types of membrane transport, passive, active, okay, that sort of thing. And that's okay. Beginners need that, but it's not the same as sophisticated knowledge with wisdom that correlates to real life. So anyways, Wondrium can be helpful, in that context. Good to know about it. And I like the idea of having more sites of information available, because anything on YouTube can just be deleted, gone forever. Versus if you've got it at Wondrium.com, if you've got it at other locations, that way there's a competitive reason to prevent deleting stuff, that it'll be available somewhere. And I probably should put my DVDs on my own website. I haven't done that, but I probably should, so that they'll always somehow be available, because you never know what's going to happen.